I think Kevin O'Connell, who we've kind of looked at here the last couple of years since he has taken over as the Minnesota Vikings head coach. And in Kevin O'Connell's, let's see, was it 4 years already as the head coach of the Vikings? In his 4 years as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, they went 13-4 in 2022 with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. And then they lost to the Giants in the wild card game. Then a down year, 7-10, bunch of quarterback injuries. They were down to like their third and fourth stringers. Sean Mannion, who's now the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, played quarterback that year for the Vikings. Then last year they get Sam Darnold, and Kevin O'Connell blows everybody's nips off because he turns Sam Darnold into a good quarterback again. Well, then Sam Darnold goes to Seattle and wins a Super Bowl. The Vikings went 14-3 that year, lose to the Rams in the wild card game because Darnold, Cinderella, the clock struck midnight on him. Well, again, he's a Super Bowl champion now. And Kevin O'Connell, along with GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, I'm not completely absolving Kwesi Adofo-Mensah of his role as the Vikings GM. He's the one that he got fired because of it. But Kevin O'Connell is known and reported to have a lot of power and a lot of decision-making prowess within the Minnesota Vikings organization. And Kevin O'Connell said, nah, Sam Darnold can't get us over the hump. Sam Darnold can't win us a playoff game. Well, the other option last year in the offseason was potentially Aaron Rodgers, who there was reported interest. Rodgers was open to completing his Brett Favre cosplay and going to the Vikings, and it was reported that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and the Vikings said, no thanks, Aaron. No thanks. No thanks to a first ballot Hall of Famer, a four-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion. No thanks to a guy in Sam Darnold who you only would have had to pay him $30 million a year. That's what the Seahawks got him for, $33 million a year. No thanks to the guy that won us 14 games, but yes, came back down to earth against a couple of really good defenses in the final two games of the season. No, we're going to go with J.J. McCarthy, the guy that we basically reached for the 10th overall pick on, guy that tore his meniscus in the preseason in his rookie season and missed all of that, and who never played a snap in the NFL. We're going to pass on Aaron Rodgers. We're going to pass on Sam Darnold. We're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. And I don't think you need me to tell you how that ended up working out. J.J. McCarthy ranked basically in the bottom 5 of all quarterbacks in completion percentage, in yards per pass attempted, and was just brutal. It was just flat out brutal. The Vikings started the season 4-8. They were done. But then with Carson Wentz and then with J.J. McCarthy coming back healthy, hey, the Vikings won 5 in a row. And you look back in the annals of history and you'll see a Vikings season that was 9-8, despite those last couple of wins coming against the Washington Commanders, where Jaden Daniels got hurt in the first half of the game. A win against the Dallas Cowboys, a win against the New York Giants, who were tanking. The impressive Christmas Day win against the Lions, I'll give them that. That was because their defense was awesome. Thank you, Brian Flores. And then a win against the Green Bay Packers, who sat everybody. And they didn't care if they lost by 50 points. So the Vikings get 5 wins in a row to end the season. And this offseason, it's, the reported from Tony Pauline that the Vikings are quietly exploring an exit strategy from J.J. McCarthy. And they have essentially admitted failure. They've admitted that drafting J.J. McCarthy and choosing him over Sam Darnold, choosing him over Aaron Rodgers was a mistake. Kevin O'Connell kept his job. The GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he did not. He was fired, ultimately, because of the decision to go with J.J. McCarthy. But like I said, it's widely reported that Kevin O'Connell is basically a quasi-czar in the Vikings organization, to the point where he was asked at the Combine if he would want the GM job. Imagine that. Bill Belichick status. Kevin O'Connell, the play caller, the head coach, the quarterback whisperer. quarterback guru, and maybe the GM. Right now, they don't have a GM. Rob Brzezinski, who's been with the Vikings organization for like 2 decades, he is the interim de facto GM, if you will. He's the one answering all the questions. He answered all the questions at the combine. And the plan is, the reported plan is, they don't plan to hire a GM until after the draft. So that means it's Rob Brzezinski, Kevin O'Connell, working. What's the word I'm looking for? Working. I don't want to say in cahoots, working together. Sometimes you try to be smarter than you are. I probably should have just said working together. Kept it simple, like a simple man. You be a simple man, Pat. It's Kevin O'Connell and Rob Brzezinski working hard together on the draft and who the Vikings are going to select and in free agency. And that leads us to what's the biggest thing in free agency for the Minnesota Vikings. Find out who your quarterback's going to be. And for the last week or so, it's widely assumed it's going to be Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray is now, we saw the reports today, he is officially taking a visit to Minnesota tomorrow after he was finally officially released today by the Arizona Cardinals. And I think it is a foregone conclusion that Kyler Murray is going to be signed by tomorrow or Friday at the league minimum, which is good because the Cardinals are paying basically all of that contract to release him. And it appears as if there isn't going to be a quarterback competition. It appears we're trending towards Kyler Murray just straight up being given the role of QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings in 2026. And I'll say this. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he didn't get to keep his job because of the decisions they made with the quarterback last year. There's no scapegoat now for Kevin O'Connell. If they're going with Kyler Murray, that's Kevin O'Connell's choice. And so KOC is putting his reputation and perhaps his job on the line this year if Kyler Murray is Minnesota's quarterback. Phone number to join the show, 310-840-4910. That's 310-840-4910. You can also tweet me at Pat Boyle 44. And I've been a vocal opponent, if you will, of Kyler Murray here this entire offseason. I don't think he's a very good quarterback anymore. I think he had a good 2 to 3 year run in Arizona. Unfortunate that he tore his ACL a couple years back. But this season, played 5 games, suffered a season-ending injury again, if you'll call it that. I think it was a soft benching. I think if the Cardinals were even halfway in it, or if Jacoby Brissett wasn't outplaying Kyler Murray, think about how sad that is. Jacoby Brissett far outplayed Kyler Murray on the field. In there, you look at their numbers. Then, if that didn't happen, Kyler Murray, he probably would have played the rest of the year. But I think it was a soft benching, and it was essentially a soft release. I think Monty Ossenfort, the GM in Arizona, is basically like, yeah, we're done with him. I don't care if he's healthy or not. He ain't playing the rest of the year for us. And the first 5 games that Kyler Murray played, I wasn't impressed with at all. At all. Threw for less than 200 yards a game. When I watched him run, I didn't see the prime, bushy-tailed, athletic prowess Kyler Murray showed when he was in his prime, making Murray magic, making plays happen, using his legs. I didn't see that. My eyes could be wrong. They've been wrong before. They've been right before. I think Kevin O'Connell perhaps risking his job and his reputation to go with Kyler Murray. It's one hell of a gamble. It's one hell of a gamble that I don't know if he makes it to 2027 to tell the tale of. So, what were the other options this year in free agency for the Minnesota Vikings? Well, they could have signed Malik Willis. I would have went all out to beg for Aaron Rodgers to play quarterback for them. Who knows if that conversation was had? Maybe they called Aaron Rodgers in the first day of the offseason, or maybe, legal tampering. Maybe they did a little illegal tampering. I mean, who the hell is ever going to know if Kevin O'Connell talked to Aaron Rodgers on a cell phone? Nobody. And maybe they did say, maybe Kevin O'Connell said, hey, Aaron, I screwed up, man. I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. Here's my humble pie. But we want you. We need you. We need you to play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings here this season. Maybe he did say that. And maybe Aaron said, hey, man, I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll do my best Aaron Rodgers impression here. Uh, I don't know if I'm coming back to play football. I'm got a lot of family things I got to figure out. I'm here, I'm looking at the beach. I'm enjoying things right now. I can't give you an answer. And maybe Kevin O'Connell said, well, I kind of need one because we can't do what the Steelers did last year. We can't just wait for you, man. Can't wait till April. Can't wait till May. I got to have a backup. I have to have a plan by the time free agency starts. And maybe that was the end of it. But I would have went all out for Aaron Rodgers. I don't care. At 42, going to be 43, I think he's a better quarterback still at this time than Kyler Murray is. Hell, I even think Kirk Cousins would have been a better option. He knows the system, played for Kevin O'Connell, had success, won 13 games with him a couple of years ago. Now, sure, Kirk Cousins ain't the same quarterback that he was 5 years ago. He's got a torn Achilles to his name since then. Still, you want familiarity. You want comfortability. That's what so many of these coaches and so many of these GMs, they as smart as we think they are sometimes, they revert back to this. They panic if things are out of their control, if things are out of their comfort zone. What would have been in Kevin O'Connell's comfort zone more than Kirk Cousins? But instead, they're risking it all on getting Kyler Murray to be committed, to be healthy, and to be the quarterback that he once was in Arizona. And I just don't think he's that anymore. 310-840-4910. I mean, I've said it time and time again. The Arizona Cardinals literally had to put a clause in his contract requiring him to have more independent film study because it was the worst kept secret that Kyler Murray was a Call of Duty fiend, a video game addict. And they worried about the guy who's the most important position in sports, the unquestioned leader of the locker room. They worried about that guy's commitment to the point where they had to put a clause in his contract. And if you had to put that in his contract, why the hell did you ever pay him $45 million a year to begin with? I'm sure Arizona's wondering that question. I'm sure they've wondered it for the last 2 years here. And I know if you disagree with me and you think Kyler Murray to the Vikings makes him a playoff team this year, you think that because in the last 3 years, 4 years alone, we've seen Geno Smith fail with the Jets and eventually wind up in Seattle and had a couple of double-digit win seasons. And you think that then Sam Darnold, who was at rock bottom, goes to the Minnesota Vikings and gets some 14 wins and then goes to the Seahawks and wins a freaking Super Bowl. And if you think, because you saw Daniel Jones, who the Giants kicked him to the curb, he goes to the Colts and through 10 games, he was 8-2, putting up some of the best numbers in football. And you think, well, Pat, if that could happen for these guys, you're telling me Kyler Murray doesn't have the talent to do that for Minnesota? And I'll tell you that for every Geno Smith and for every Sam Darnold and for every Daniel Jones and for every quarterback that doesn't have success with one franchise and one organization, that they'll have success with another one. For every one of those quarterbacks, I can point you in 100 different examples of guys that bounce from team to team and never have success, and they turn into perennial backups. And I think we'll see. History will tell if I'm right or if I'm wrong. But I think in another 3 years from now, Kyler Murray will be a perennial backup. We will look at him the way we look at Jacoby Brissett, who's the starter again in Arizona this year. So who knows? Maybe Jacoby Brissett has his Sam Darnold year or his Daniel Jones year. We will look at Kyler Murray the same way we look at Gardner Minshew. We'll say, yeah, I wonder what team he's going to be the backup for. And I don't think Minnesota's going to the playoffs this year with Kyler Murray as their quarterback. Because straight up, I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback anymore. And that's Kevin O'Connell's decision. He wants Kyler Murray. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah got fired because they wanted J.J. McCarthy. If the Vikings go 6-11 this year, should Kevin O'Connell get fired? If Kyler Murray is the reason why they go 6-11, or 7-10, despite what I think is a damn good defense led by Brian Flores once again, despite them having Justin Jefferson, despite them having Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, I don't think Kyler Murray has given you the quarterback play that you need to be a playoff team. Can't see over the line of scrimmage. Never had a big arm. And I think what he would use to make up for that, his legs, his ability to make plays happen on the run, outside the pocket. The guy that's had 2 season-ending injuries in the last 4 years. I don't think you could say, oh, he's only 26 or he's only 27. Kyler Murray is 28, actually. Turns 29 in August. So he'll be 29 at the start of the season. Well, Pat, he's not even 30 years old. I don't think Kyler Murray's a winner. And I think Kevin O'Connell, who has built a reputation as a winner, as a quarterback guru, as this genius offensive mind from the time he was Sean McVay's offense coordinator for the Rams. And in the 2 years where he looked like a damn genius, with Kirk Cousins getting him 13 wins and Sam Darnold getting him 14 wins. I think we're going to be halfway through the season, and they might make that move back to J.J. McCarthy. And maybe then, if Kevin O'Connell can get the most out of J.J. McCarthy, maybe that's enough to save his job for 2027. Maybe they're back all in on J.J. McCarthy in 2027. But I got a feeling Kyler Murray is going to be one and done with the Minnesota Vikings.